I will now introduce to you the drill instructors responsible to me for your training. Senior drill instructor, take charge of these recruits and train them to become United States Marines.
Aye, sir. Again, my name is Gunnery Sergeant McWilliams, and I am your senior drill instructor. I am assisted in my duties by Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Villa and Drill Instructor Staff Sergeant Matt. Our mission is to train each one of you to become a United States Marine. A Marine is
Classical conditioning is a key strategy in turning raw recruits into Marines.
The purpose of recruit training is not to train a Marine for combat, but to train him to be a basically trained Marine. If I am breaking down a misconception, where a Marine will be trained for further on for combat is when he leaves here and he goes on to specialized schools. What we're doing, though, here is preparing him for the discipline that he's going to confront at these specialized schools. How do we work the discipline in? One, instant and willing obedience to orders. How are we going to do that?
The first step in moving a group of independent-minded teenagers toward instant and willing obedience to orders is to trigger the reflexive response of fear.
You will always be at the position of attention, you understand me?
Yes, sir!
Do you understand me?
Yes, sir!
You will always be at the position of attention!
Most people reflexively respond to yelling with fear. So the drill instructors yell at the recruits. In this case, yelling is an unconditioned stimulus that elicits the unconditioned reflex of fear.
Okay, aye, sir. Aye, sir. Let me tell you something right now. Who is going to take you seriously if you don't talk with some conviction? No, shut up. I didn't ask for an answer.
First, he's going to use a voice. Now, some of the way we get our responses, recruits don't like the shouting voice.
This yelling is paired with the neutral stimulus of the drill instructor's hat, the distinctive campaign cover.
We call it cover identification. For us, it's a visual identification that they're going to sit there and focus on because they know this cover represents the Marine drill instructor.
They're not here any single moment. Let's go.
Soon, the cover alone triggers a fear response, whether or not the drill instructor is yelling. The neutral stimulus has become a conditioned stimulus, and the unconditioned reflex of fear is now a conditioned response.
The recruits know that this represents a drill instructor. If I take this off, they might see me in a different light for a chance. When I put it back on, the recruits will respond and turn differently to me.
During the 3 decades Pavlov studied classical conditioning, he noticed 2 important variations called stimulus generalization and stimulus discrimination.
Stimulus generalization is where you respond not only to the original conditioned stimulus, but other similar conditioned stimuli. So the way Pavlov did this with dogs, he could condition a dog to salivate to a tone, and then he could condition the dog to salivate to a higher pitched tone or a lower pitched tone, and the dog would salivate regardless of whether the tone was high pitched or low pitched.
Little Albert is a perfect example of stimulus generalization. While he was conditioned to fear a white rat, his fear response generalized to include other white furry things. Remember, even Santa's beard triggered this response.
Stimulus discrimination is basically just the opposite, where you respond to the original conditioned stimulus, but not other similar conditioned stimuli. So if we stayed with the same example, Pavlov could condition the dog to salivate only to, we'll say, a medium-pitched tone, but not to a high-pitched or a low-pitched tone. The dog is discriminating between those similar stimuli.
Another example of stimulus discrimination would be if a Marine encountered a national park ranger who wears a hat similar to his drill instructor. Would he respond with the same fear? Probably not. The Marine would make a distinction between the 2 hats and the persons wearing them and respond appropriately. He is able to discriminate between the 2 stimuli.
Understand me? Go help someone! Go!
As we've seen, classical conditioning explains how we learn involuntary reflexive responses to stimuli that wouldn't ordinarily trigger that response.
You're moving too slow! Fix my right now, sir! I do!